This is Talk Sports Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham, and sitting next to me is Mike Porky Parry. We are the two Mikes, and all I can say, Mr. Parry, is a very, very warm welcome. And you're looking a bit warm as well.
Well, it is a bit warm out, yes. Welcome to you, Mike. Great to be here in your studio again. We're going to have a rattling good 60 minutes of information, debate, and, more to the point, informacy, okay?
Informacy?
Informacy is what I'm here for.
What is informacy?
Informacy is letting people know about things going on in the world which they wouldn't otherwise know unless I was here to tell them.
Like, for example, your shorts. Let's talk about those.
Well,
why are you wearing shorts?
Well, because it's
the middle of the night.
It's very... Yes, I know it's the middle of the night, but it's very hot outside, isn't it? And
it's not that hot.
It is. It's very hot. Have you... I tell you what...
Yeah, are you going to say, have I been outside?
No.
I was outside just before I came inside.
Yes, I know you were, but sleeping tonight is going to be a nightmare for millions of people because in this country, of course, we don't have any air conditioning like we used to have in America, at least.
You had to sleep in the car with the engine running.
Well, yeah, it's a good idea. At least I'll keep it cool and all that kind of stuff. So I've decided to expose as much of my flesh to the elements.
That's what worries me.
As much of my flesh to the elements as possible during daytime when the sunlight can brush it and all that, in the hope that it will then retract itself at night when I'm in bed. And
well, you're not in bed at night though. You're here.
Yeah, I know I am. Yeah, but I'll round about 5 o'clock I'll be back in bed and see the dawn come up as I'm asleep. If you see what I mean. Obviously you can't see it coming up.
I don't think you thought this one through.
No.
So you're going to go home later on. You're going to get into bed, and while you're asleep, you're going to see the dawn coming up.
Well, what I mean is, no, I'm never fully asleep. I'm a very light sleeper, really very light sleeper. Yeah. By the way, what are those glasses you got on?
I've got different glasses on tonight, very well spotted. Well, they're a pair of glasses that I picked up at a well-known supermarket because I lost my glasses at the beach.
How much do they cost?
£2.50.
Do you know how much I paid for the last pair of glasses?
What?
365 quid.
Well, that's about what I'm paying, but I had to go and order them today. I'm not going to get them for about another week, right?
So you bought £2.50?
Well, because I need a pair of glasses to read with.
You damage your eyes, man. You won't be able to see anything.
Well, yeah, but without them, I can't read anything.
Anyway, go on.
Do you know what they told me, by the way?
What?
I mean, one of my left eye's not as good as my right eye.
Well, that's the same with everybody.
Yeah,
everybody has weaker
but my left
stronger.
eye's particularly bad because one of my sons, at one point when he was a baby, he was on my shoulder, he stuck his thumb right into my eye.
Really?
And I'm pretty sure it damaged the,
the retinal or something.
The retinal, something like that. Yeah, but they actually said, I said, it was a bit of a revelation because I've worn these trifocal glasses for ages. Which
trifocals,
you wear them all the time.
I've got those.
And you're good for driving.
Three different variations of lenses in the one bit of glass.
Yeah, but you get so used to wearing them, right, that without them, I was driving back from the beach in a pretty bad mood because, there were a couple hundred quid's worth of glasses that we'd lost.
Yeah.
And I said to the optician, I said, the good thing was I felt like I was giving my eyes a good, a good sort of test, and it felt quite good, and I was seeing okay. And she said, well, you really shouldn't do that. She said, because I can tell you that if it wasn't for your right eye, your eyesight would not be good enough to drive without glasses.
Well, I've got the same thing, and I believe in not wearing glasses. I'm strengthening my own. See, I haven't got my glasses on now.
But doesn't that give you eye strain?
No, for near stuff, for near reading, I don't need the glasses anymore. I think my eyesight. I think I've trained my eyes back into better vision.
You can't do that.
Oh, you can.
She told me that. It's physically impossible. She said your eyes do not improve with age.
Well, I'm telling you, I have adopted a system now where reading, I don't need my glasses at all. Television, I need my glasses. But I can, like you, go out in the car and drive without any fear or favour of knocking anybody over. No problem at all. And a lot of the time when I go walking, and I do a lot of walking, I don't bother taking my glasses because I believe my eyes are fighting back against the short-sightedness which has dogged me for most of my life. When I was 19, I met a girl who I was very keen on, so I refused to wear glasses because I thought only sissies wore glasses. You know what I mean? I was at that sort of age. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you'd have those National Health, those rounds of John Lennon glasses.
Like the Milky Bar Kid glasses and all that. So I decided not to, and unfortunately that did make my eyesight deteriorate for quite a while because, you wouldn't wear them at night in discos and all that kind of stuff.
So when you were this great schoolboy footballer,
didn't
your eyesight suffer then at that point?
I didn't need glasses then. Didn't need glasses till I was about just after I left school, actually. When I was 18, I didn't need glasses, and they deteriorated after that. But anyway, look, we were talking about much more important things, okay? Now, for instance...
World Cup's only, what now, 26 days away, 25 days away?
26 days away. Now, we're all going to celebrate that, most of us, back here in this country, okay? Yeah. I shan't be going to Brazil unless I change my mind.
Alan Brazil's going to Brazil, of course.
Alan Brazil's going to Brazil for the first 2 weeks, something like that.
He's going to be certainly there for the opening game, I believe, on the 12th.
Excellent. That's brilliant. Good. That's what we need. And so we'll be celebrating back in this country. So we should all be allowed to actually get into the mood. Now, when I was brought up in Chester, a fine city, a Roman city, a medieval city, a very, very beautiful city, right on the edge of the border of England and Wales. So we used to spend quite a lot of time in North Wales and went to the beach and all that kind of stuff. And we did play some football in North Wales at Colwyn Bay and places like that. And the problem with playing in Colwyn Bay and places like that was that on a Sunday, none of the pubs opened. And do you know why? Because the Welsh Presbyterians...
Well, why did you go there then? Because it seems to me that your youth was entirely peppered with visits to places on the grounds of the pubs. Like that story you told us about the Isle of Man.
Well, the Isle of Man was a good one, yeah.
Where you go drinking for like 24 hours.
Yeah, well, that's right, yeah. But, in Wales, it was the opposite. You couldn't do any drinking in 24 hours whatsoever. But we had to play football there on a Sunday morning. So you'd go there, and then you'd have to race back to England to get to a pub by 2 o'clock when they closed on the Sunday in those days, because the pubs didn't open in Wales.
Sheer panic was driving you.
And it's the Welsh Presbyterians and the Welsh Baptists and the Welsh, whatever they're called. There's lots of them in Scotland as well, isn't there?
There are, yeah.
What are the Shakers?
Who
are the Shakers?
The High Church of Scotland. The Quakers, you think?
No, the Shakers.
The Shakers are somebody completely different.
No, they are. The Shakers are...
The Shakers are the ones that make furniture, aren't they?
No. The Shakers are a religious group in Scotland who...
Really?
Yeah, they walk around waving sticks around and all this kind of stuff. I don't know why, yeah. But anyway, look, point of my story is, guess what I found out? I found out that throughout Wales... all pubs and local authorities have been refused extra drinking time on World Cup nights on the grounds that, and I quote this from the Welsh Assembly, our country's not qualified for the World Cup. Why would you want extended drinking hours?
That's basically true, isn't it?
Well, it's true that they haven't...
They haven't qualified.
But the decision has outraged Welsh politician Owen Smith. Oh, hello, boyo. Shadow Secretary of State for Wales, who called it an absolute disgrace.
So he wants to support England then?
Well, he wants... No, they don't even have to support England. They might want to support Argentina. Yeah. But if they haven't got a late licence in the pub, they can't get in the pub and watch the games. I think it's an absolute damn disgrace. And I think the Principality, which is Wales, should get over their anti-English prejudice. And remember, by the way... One of the biggest Welsh colonies in the world is in Chile, OK? In Chile, there are people there who speak Spanish with a Welsh accent.
Is there Argentina as well? There
is. There's a big Welsh community in Argentina. Patagonia, that's right. And you know why, of course? Because they started the mining out there.
That's right.
And a lot of miners from Wales decided to go out to South America. Patagonia, of course, is the Pampas down in the south of Argentina. And I went there once.
Like Tierra del Fuego, isn't it?
Tierra del Fuego is the port, but the Bariloche is the resort that you go to. It's a big skiing resort in the winter, and it's a big holiday resort in the summer. Bariloche, OK? And I've been there as well. So what I'm saying is, there are Welsh antecedents in the whole of South America where the World Cup is being played, but these Welsh politicians, apart from Owen Smith, hello boyo, have decided they won't have late drinking time in Wales. It's an absolute disgrace, don't you think?
Well, I do think it's a disgrace that they can't have the same drinking hours as we have in England during the World Cup. But there's already been this controversy about whether if England get knocked out of the World Cup, the late drinking is going to stop. And I've been saying for ages, surely if you can watch England playing, you can watch Argentina play.
Of course you can.
And there's not going to be any trouble either.
No.
Well, maybe we should hear from some Welsh people out there if you want to support England or you don't want to support England. 08717 22 3344. I've got one from TMC here who sent this in at TalkSport.
TMC?
I was going to try and get a few hours sleep soon, but the thought of Porky in shorts will give me nightmares.
Well, it might give you nightmares as well, but if you're a Welsh person, you've got nightmares, because I think it's an absolute disgrace. I want Wales to rise up in rebellion, because what's going to happen is...
You don't really want Wales to rise up in rebellion.
What's going to happen is a lot of Welsh people will decide to emigrate from Wales on a temporary basis during the World Cup so that they can join in the World Party, not an English party, the World Party.
Maybe they're not quite as obsessed with drinking into the night as you are.
With a lot of other people who are in civilised drinking establishments.
But are you saying that you expect Welsh people to support England during the World Cup? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've already said, Mike, I don't expect a lot of Welsh people to support England. I would, if I was Welsh, I'd support England.
But it's not like the Scots, is it? I mean, most Welsh people probably would support England, because an awful lot of people, certainly in the south of Wales, their football teams are not necessarily Cardiff and Swansea. They're Arsenal and Man United.
I have to say that Welsh people are not as prejudiced in their national support as the Scots are. You wouldn't get a single Scotsman in the whole of the world supporting England because they're just so envious of us, whereas the Welsh tend to be more brotherly about it. Owen the baker and Owen the bread and Owen the lager man and all that kind of stuff. And
you've got a very quaint picture you're painting of Wales. I think it's moved on since the times of Dylan Thomas.
Well, it has a bit, under Bill Wood and all that kind of stuff. His anniversary's just come off, hasn't it?
Yeah, there was a show on last night, actually, about
100th anniversary of his death. I mean, at 39 years of age, he managed to drink himself to death on a day day when he went out and had 18 large scotches, came back to the hotel, had a couple more, went to bed and died.
Yeah.
I mean, that is dying for your arse. Dying for your arse, isn't it?
He used to drink in a White Horse Tavern, of course, down in Greenwich Village.
Exactly, and the Chelsea Hotel, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's where he stayed, I think. Yeah, well, there you go. Anyway, look, the Welsh, get your act together. It's not just England that the Welsh boyos want to watch. It's all the other teams in the world.
Let's hear from you. 08717 22 3344. Mike Porky Parry and me, Mike Graham, back with more next.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. Sitting next to me, he's wearing shorts, I'm sorry to say, which are, fortunately his legs are hidden below the table, so I don't have to stare at them. But there's quite a few tweets and texts coming in on that front. A couple of Welsh texts have come in as well. Tom from Swansea says, "Hey lads, I won't be supporting the English as a Swansea fan, but I will be supporting the Swansea players that are playing in the World Cup."
That's the point. Cardiff and Swansea have got players play all over the world. They're playing in the World Cup, and yet these people are denied the right of every other man in the British Isles to go into a pub late on and watch the games in the early hours of the morning.
And here's one from William Motherwell who says, "Could you please tell that buffoon from Wales that the Shakers were a religious sect founded in England, a breakaway group from the Quakers, nothing to do with Scotland at all."
They ended up in Scotland. I remember somebody telling me about them last time I was up there.
And Darren, who's a Spurs fan, says, "How could Mike Parry sleep with all that exposed ginger white skin? It must be like having the light on."
It's not like having the light on at all, believe me.
The light's on, but nobody's home.
I'm very comfortable in my own skin, believe me, I really am.
Just as well.
Talking about Wales, Mike, we talked about the problem with shepherds a few weeks ago. And this is interesting because, of course, just to recap and to our listeners who didn't listen to that one, my great fear is that we're going to see the dying out of sheep in this country because no young men want to be shepherds anymore because it's not a very glamorous profession, OK? And also, land that used to be for grazing for sheep is being allowed to grow over because of EU subsidies. Now, that prompted a debate and people started contacting me, very serious people, about food supplies in this country.
Serious people?
Serious
like
people.
shepherds, you mean?
No, shepherds.
As well as shepherds?
No, but people in the meat industry.
All right.
And we're on the brink of, of sleepwalking into starvation.
What?
In this country, because I tell you exactly what's happening. These people have contacted me and told me that because of the massive competition now between supermarkets, right, and we've got our established supermarkets in this country, names like Tesco's, and what are they? Sainsbury's and Waitrose and all that kind of stuff. And
Aldi.
Well, this is the point. Now, we used to have these traditional, what you'd call British marks.
Morrison's, we should mention.
Morrison's, of course, we should mention. And then what happens? Aldi and Lidl come along, and with some magic formula, and I think they're both German-funded companies, aren't they?
They're owned by two brothers, apparently, who've fallen out. And they won't kind of merge them, but they run separate companies.
That's how Adidas and Puma emerged. Adidas and Nike emerged. There used to be one family, and then they fell out, and one kept the three stripes, the other one went off and did Nike, or is it Puma? I think it's Nike, I'm not sure. But anyway, that's how it emerged. So maybe these German families always fall out when they get into business, right? Because what's happened here is they've come over. Now, what's happened now is that the four traditional British supermarkets we've just mentioned are now desperately battling to try and get their prices as low as Aldi and Lidl.
Because they're undercutting them.
Because they're undercutting them. So what's happened? All the farmers are producing meat, which is the staple food of this country, isn't it? Except for vegetarians, of course. But there aren't too many vegetarians around.
Well, I think there's a growing number of
vegetarians.
Well, maybe
there's a growing number. I think a lot of them cheat. I think a lot of them call themselves vegetarians, but they're not really. You know
a lot
what
of people who call themselves vegetarians eat fish, which is nonsense,
exactly,
isn't it?
and chicken and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, real vegetarians will not eat anything that has a face.
Have you ever met anybody more boring than a vegan? A vegan doesn't even take milk.
One of the guys that I went to university with became a vegan, right? Yeah. And he got married to this girl who was a vegan. Yeah. And they had a baby who they were raising as a vegan.
Oh, that's terribly cruel, isn't it?
Well, I just thought it was really
Don't
weird.
you have to give protein to babies and all that kind of stuff? Do you remember we had a mate in New York? Did he work on the West Coast or something? He became a vegan. Remember, he came into Costello's one day and said, "Oh, I'm vegan now."
Really?
Like some great revelation. I'm vegan. Yeah. He worked in West Hollywood or somewhere like that. Anyway, the point of the story is.
What is the point of the story?
This point of the story is that meat is now being forced down to unacceptable prices, OK? For instance...
So the farmers can't make any money?
For instance, average farm gate beef prices have dropped to £3.50 a kilo from £4 a year ago. And that's because consumers...
Well, that's good, isn't it? That's a good thing for consumers. That's good.
But it's not good for the supermarkets because... it's not good for the farmers because what's going to happen, and I've been told this by the top experts in this country, at some point... beef farms are going to say it's not worth raising it anymore.
That's rubbish.
They're going to send all that
but
cattle...
you know what you've fallen for here? You've fallen for the propaganda machine of the farmers. I mean, the farmers have been telling us they're going to go out of business for years and years and years.
All the cattle...
First they were going to be put out of business by mad cow disease.
Right.
Then they were going to be put out of business by foot and mouth. Then they were going to be put out of business by EU subsidies.
No, they get loads of free money from the EU.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, they're always saying, we're going to go out of business soon. We're not going to be able to produce anything.
What's going to happen is, right, all these cows will be shunted off. So not only are we losing sheep because we've got no shepherds, we're now losing beef because it's not worth economically raising cattle anymore for beef, because the beef is now of so little value because of the way that... Oh, there's hair all over this desk. What's going on?
Yeah, because Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy had their heads shaved by David Beckham's sister earlier.
Well, couldn't they have either done it in a more hygienic place or...
Well, when I came in, there was hair all over the floor.
It's disgusting, this. Isn't nobody coming to clean it up?
I know, my producer was outraged by it.
I'm outraged by it as well. Anyway, I noticed this just blown in.
I'll get you some wipes if you want.
Oh, well, yeah, please do. I'm going to wipe it myself while I'm tortured. I'm just wiping this desk now.
Well, don't lick it and then wipe it. That's
I
even more
didn't do
disgusting.
that. I didn't do that, you fool. I just had to try and get this off the desk. It's
hey, what about this
disgusting.
story? You know, we're talking while you're getting
I haven't
all worked
finished
up.
telling you about the beef yet. Because
All
what's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Get on with it then.
It's going to be so economical eventually that beef won't be produced. Then suddenly we'll wake up one morning, we'll have no beef, we'll have no food. We could literally. I'm told we could literally face mass starvation.
Who's been talking to you, Dr. Death?
Because once you stop producing cattle and beef, you can never get it back again, right? And you've had it.
Well, you know what the answer is? Stop buying all that stuff from the supermarkets and start buying the quality stuff from individual private butchers and individual kind of, free range type, wild cattle.
And if you then have to start importing all your beef, yes, I am. But if you then start having to import your beef, where do you get your beef from? Far, far away, New Zealand and Australia and all places like that.
No, look, here's the problem.
And you know what happens then? Because the Merchant Navy hasn't got... Excuse me, because I want to finish my point here. The Merchant Navy hasn't got a Royal Navy of sufficient size anymore to protect the sea lanes around the world where we need them protecting.
What are you talking about?
Well, what I'm saying is the beef may never reach this country. It might get kidnapped by Somali pirates or something like that on the way here. And then we're in real trouble.
Somali pirates down in the English Channel somewhere?
No. Round in the Indian Ocean, all that, where,
Where's the beef coming from? Through the Indian Ocean?
Australia, New Zealand, places like that.
Well, I tell you what, if you let me tell you this story earlier, you can understand that it's not going to be coming from Australia or New Zealand, because over the weekend, thousands of sheep in Australia are believed to have died after eating a poisonous plant that makes them bash their heads on posts and rocks until they crack open. Never heard of such a thing.
That's a terrible story.
I'm amazed that, given your connections now with the shepherding business, that you haven't actually known about this.
No, I didn't know about that. That's a terrible story, and I feel very sorry for those poor sheep who've clearly been driven to dementia. But then again, the hot weather can drive sheep to dementia, can't it? If the sheep are in really boiling weather,
well, I've
and
never heard
of
them bashing their heads against rocks before.
No, neither have I. That's very, very sad. Do you think it's some sort of mad sheep disease going on?
Well, no, they ate some poisonous plant apparently that's made them do it.
That's terrible.
But listen, before we take any more of your madness,
okay.
you're scaring people with all this.
I'm not scaring people.
First of all, it was the TB cats that you were going to say we're going to take over the country. We're all going to die of TB.
Well, I was proved right on that one.
Well, no, you weren't. Nobody knows where Millhouse is yet, and he hasn't infected anyone.
Well, there's a lot of TB around, to the extent where Brian May, one of the greatest living musicians who appeared, of course, on all the Queen records and Queen's greatest hits.
Appeared on our show as well.
He appeared on our show, definitely came in here and talked to us. Loves Badgers. He of course, a member of Queen, the biggest selling group of all time with their greatest hits. But just to let you know, he's spending £7 million on buying a shooting estate down in Somerset
to stop them shooting.
Stop people shooting.
Exactly. Let's talk to John, who's an Arsenal fan in North London.
Let's do
John,
that.
a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike and Mike.
Yeah, morning,
now,
John.
We spoke to you last week, I think, didn't we?
You certainly did. My 5-0 prediction to Arsenal. And
it didn't quite work out like that, did it?
Not quite. And I spoke to Richard, or you patched me through to Richard, a Hull fan, and Mike Parry gave us some absurd forfeits to do. But no, it didn't quite work out like that. But
5 goals, though. 5 goals, so you got 5 goals in the game.
Well, true. But first thing I want to say, and I want to say this on behalf of Arsenal and Hull City, I thought that the refereeing team, and by that I mean the referee and the referee's assistants, were absolutely appalling. And like I said, that's on behalf of Arsenal and Hull.
Why do you say that? What decision?
Well, there should have been at least 2 penalties for Arsenal, shouldn't there?
Well, it should have been 1, I thought. I thought it should have been 1. But you won the game at the end of the day, John, so you don't usually moan about the referees when you win.
Well, no, I mean, I want to be even and balanced, shall I say, because if I'd come on and we'd lost and I said, oh, it's the referee, etc., etc. I was actually at the game and I was at the parade on Sunday. The first time, and I worked nights, so the first time I actually saw the game, so I recorded it, first time I saw it back was this afternoon. And it was, I'm pretty sure, was it Andy Townsend, I think, was the co-commentator on ITV. And, I mean, he said definitely, and obviously he's not an Arsenal fan or a Hull fan, he said definitely 2 penalties and probably 3.
Yeah,
or
well,
a third
very
could certainly
possibly.
have been given.
Now, John, let's get back to the Hull fan and the forfeits, because I can't remember what they were. What was the Hull fan's forfeit?
Well, my forfeit was to walk back from Wembley Stadium without shoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Hull fans was to climb the Humber Bridge.
That's right. It certainly
Yeah,
was.
well, I think at the time I suggested that was a very dangerous and stupid suggestion for Mr. Parry, because obviously if you climb the Humber Bridge, one, you get arrested, and two, you may lose your life.
No, they do official trips up there. They do official trips up to the top of the bridge.
Do they?
Yeah, of course they do. Like the Sydney Harbour Bridge, you fool. Don't you know that?
Well, I thought you wanted him to, like, scale it.
Well, he could do, but there's a way up. And did you walk back in your shoes, John?
Well, why would he? They won.
Well, my forfeit was if we lost. So I didn't realise my forfeit was if we'd won. If only you'd have told me, then I'd have walked back without my shoes.
I just said, did you walk back with your shoes?
I didn't walk back at all.
Well, there you go. You see, you bottled the whole thing. You see,
John,
you
it's not easy to work out.
much,
It doesn't work. It's not easy to work out what Mr. Parry's meaning.
You haven't got much fibre
No,
you haven't got much fibre as a football supporter. I'm telling you, John. You know, but it's good to hear from you anyway.
John, thank you very much for calling in. So, the latest panic from Porky. Well, I'll start calling it Porky Panic, actually, because every week now you've got some kind of horrendous, doomsday scenario
I'm only
that's going to
enlightening you.
descend upon the
I'm
place.
enlightening you.
The point is that in America, big farms have been bought and basically run by people like McDonald's, right? So nobody, if you're an individual kind of small organic farmer, can get in on the act. And so they artificially keep the price of beef low. And the supermarkets are doing the same thing here. Now, as I said, my suggestion to you is to buy, locally reared and organically produced beef, which is a little bit more expensive.
But you can't get it.
Yes, of course you can. You
Can't
can buy
get
it
it.
you can buy it in Borough Market, just up the road.
It's not viable to make it anymore. Talking about American farms, by the way, when McDonald's opened up in Russia, right, the first one, I was invited to the very first opening of McDonald's in Red Square,
vodka
Moscow.
in it?
No, they didn't. The banana vodka came later. But do you know that what McDonald's did is they actually flew all the turf out from Montana to Russia, replanted 6 fields there to graze the cows on.
Right.
So the cows were grazing on American, grass.
American soil.
Yeah,
literally.
so that when they, cows were slaughtered and the beef was made, it tasted like McDonald's in America.
Really?
How about that?
That's interesting.
You didn't know that, did you?
I did not know that. No, that's fascinating. I wonder if they do that absolutely everywhere. 08717 22 3344. Richard the Hull fan, who was meant to climb the Humber Bridge, is coming up next.
Excellent.
On TalkSport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. We've got an awful lot to talk about, not least the weather. I've got a question here for you, Porky.
Okay.
This is coming in from someone who doesn't give a name. Is Porky wearing socks and sandals with his shorts? Because I was told that he's wearing sort of boat shoes with no
Deck
socks.
shoes.
Very much the American look, that, because we had a fashion expert on not long ago who said that the sort of the dad look with Hawaiian shirts and socks and sandals is going to be very big this year.
Nah, not for
but
me.
I can't bring myself to wear sandals.
Those guys look like, I don't know, what's the word, the socks and the sandal and the Hawaiian shirt. I'm sorry, talk about drips.
Yeah.
Mega drips.
Yeah. They certainly don't hold a candle to you with your sartorial elegance.
Did you get out on the beach this weekend then?
I did actually. Well, that's how I lost my sunglasses.
Of
my
course,
glasses,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, this
yeah,
time they weren't stolen by a seagull. I just literally, I got into the car and suddenly went, where are my glasses? And I foolishly hadn't put them in a case, you see. And, with the dog and the kids and everything, they've just disappeared.
Yeah, you just can't organise yourself.
But the beach that I went to was not like Brighton Beach, where you saw lots of pictures where people were literally mobbed, sitting next to cheek by jowl. I mean, I would never do that.
It was like watching, with the greatest respect to refugees, it was like watching a refugee exodus to a beach, wasn't it?
I'll tell you what it was like. It was like watching one of those nature shows with the penguins all just standing
yeah.
right next to each other,
Yeah.
thousands of them. No, the bit of beach where I was actually completely empty. You might have seen a picture I put out on social media. There was nobody there.
Yeah.
Because that's the
That's
kind of
'cause
beach
they
I
knew you
like.
were there.
That's nothing to
They
do
thought
with
they'd
it.
go somewhere else. They thought, well, I'm not going to watch him eat 6 hamburgers and jump into the water and cause a tidal wave.
I think not. No, I didn't eat any hamburgers this weekend, actually,
really?
if you really want to know. But let's talk to Richard, the
Kebabs,
whole fan.
was it?
Richard, no, I don't eat any of that stuff. I don't know where
go
you
on.
get this from.
Go on,
Richard
go on.
is the guy who you told to climb the Humber Bridge.
Right.
So that was his
Let's
forfeit.
speak to him.
Hull City, of course, lost at the weekend. So let's find out if he's done it yet. Richard, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, very well indeed. Now, Mr. Parry suggested you go up the Humber. I thought when he said it that he meant you should scale it with sort of crampons and a rope. But he
I think I'll
claimed.
be arrested.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought it was a bad idea. He reckons you can actually go up it, like properly, legally.
No, you can't. Not allowed.
So he's wrong about that then.
Yeah, he is.
There's a funny thing.
No. I'm sure you can. I'm sure that John Prescott once
I
said
live in
that.
Hull.
Sorry.
I live in Hull. You can't do it.
Yeah, but I bet you don't know
That's
too
pretty
much.
definitive,
No,
that.
no, you don't know much about the Humber Bridge because nobody ever uses the Humber Bridge. It doesn't actually go anywhere, does it?
Well, yes, it
Of course
does.
it does.
Where does it go then?
It goes from the North Bank to the South Bank.
No. What's the name of the town on the other side?
Barton.
Yeah, and who would ever want to go to Barton? Nobody wants to go to Barton, do they?
So it doesn't go nowhere then, does it?
It goes to nowhere, doesn't it?
No, it goes to Barton.
Richard, I'm absolutely serious about this. If you go over that bridge,
It's the main road between Hull and Grimsby.
that's what I'm saying. But
No, you're saying it doesn't go anywhere.
It doesn't go anywhere. Nobody uses it because nobody wants to go
No,
to Grimsby.
nobody uses it because it's too
No.
expensive. That's why nobody uses
Well,
it.
maybe that's maybe the answer. But what I'm saying
Well,
is,
no, they've
it's,
cut the price now.
Oh, have
Right.
they? There you go.
Yeah, it's down to £12 now for trucks.
it's got the lowest
That's not very cheap,
concentration.
is it?
No, that's not very cheap. It's got the lowest concentration of traffic of any bridge ever built in Europe because it doesn't go anywhere in either direction. I mean, particularly to
Can you,
Grimsby.
can you imagine the architect of this bridge, Richard, sitting
Yeah.
in a room
Yeah.
and
No, yeah.
Porky Parry sitting there, and you go, where are you building this bridge
Yeah.
to and from? Well, we're bringing it from nowhere to nowhere.
It doesn't go anywhere, does it? I mean, I'm telling you, it's massively underused. It hasn't changed the lives of people in that
What I
part of
signed up
Yorkshire.
for was to say to the Arsenal fans that
Yeah.
they all thought they'd beat Hull City 4-5-6-0. And I thought Hull City were exceptional on Saturday. It was brilliant.
Exceptional in losing, you mean?
That's very unkind.
But they lost.
Yeah, but they got to the
everybody
FA Cup
expected
final.
Hull City to get hammered.
Yeah, but hang on, Richard.
They was 2-0 up in 10 minutes.
8 minutes.
I know, and that makes it even more difficult for you because the elation you must have felt after 8 minutes. We're going to win the cup. We're going to win the cup, and now you've got to believe
All
us.
right, all right.
It was absolutely superb.
It must have been a great day out, Richard.
Oh, yeah, fantastic day out. And my little boy, it was the best day of his life, he said.
Yeah, the last time it happened, Richard, a team 2-0 up and lost it, I was there, 1966, Sheffield Wednesday. Went 2-0 up 4 minutes into the second half, and I thought it was all over.
Well, against
thought,
Everton?
Against Everton. We all thought it was over, and then Trebilco, a boy from Portsmouth, came...
Just as well he wasn't from nowhere.
Yeah, he's not from nowhere, stepped up and won. But Rich, listen, don't think that I'm having a go at your part of the world. It's just that nobody does want to go to Grimsby, genuinely. Not because there's anything wrong with
Well,
Grimsby.
they do if they want to watch Grimsby Town play football.
But nothing happens in Grimsby.
What about when Grimsby Town play football?
Well,
Grimsby is a
not
great
ma-
big port, Mike.
well, you see, this is the point. This is the point, Rich. I was going to say to you, it used to be one of Europe's major fishing ports, but due to EU regulations now, it's in fact a tiny fishing
Is
port.
that
isn't
true,
it?
Richard?
Yeah, but it's a great big freight port.
Well, it's a bit of look.
I'm
There
a
is a
lorry driver.
Yes,
Mike,
yes.
Are you
I'm a
going to
lorry
get
driver.
anything
Always
right
goes
about
there.
Grimsby?
Rich, there is a
You've
freight
got one of
port.
the biggest ports in Immingham,
Hang on, mate. Let
Hull
me just
and
finish.
Grimsby.
Let me just finish.
all linked by the bridge.
Let me just
To
finish.
nowhere.
Excuse me. Let me just finish. There is a freight port in that part of the world.
A very big one.
Yes, but most of the freight that
But
goes
nobody
there,
goes there.
Hang on a sec. Just shut up, will you, MG? Because I'm trying to explain the local geography. Most of the freight that goes there comes off the M63.
So where does it go after that?
It goes
Yeah,
into
the
that port, but you
M63
don't
is
need
over
to.
there, Al.
You don't need to use the bridge to get to the freight port once you come off the M63, do you?
You do if you're coming from Hull.
yeah, but you're not coming from Hull. You're coming from the west of England. You're coming from Liverpool and Manchester, the Manchester Ship Canal, Manchester
driving in the
Airport,
ship
Liverpool
canal?
Airport. No, I'm right there,
I'm a
aren't I,
lorry
Rich?
driver, Mike. I'm a lorry driver, Mike. If you go to Hull, drop
Yeah.
a load off, then you've got to pick a load up in Immingham. You have to go across the bridge.
Would you like a shovel, Mr. Parry,
No.
to keep yourself digging that hole?
No, because most of the freight traffic, most of the goods, I know all about freight. Only yesterday, I was down on Portsmouth Harbour
Right.
and I saw the Fifeys banana boat come in. It comes in once a fortnight
Yeah.
with like millions of bananas on
Yeah.
it. And all your bananas that you
And
buy...
where were the
all-
bananas going?
Well, the bananas were coming from the Caribbean.
Well, where were they going, though?
Well, they were going in the Portsmouth dock, weren't they, to be distributed around this country, you fool.
Do you think any of them were ending up in
Most of the
Grimsby?
used cars
Well,
come in through Grimsby and Immingham.
Sorry, say again.
most of your used cars or car sales or brand new cars come in through Grimsby and Immingham.
I know they do, and then they go onto the M63 and get distributed. None of them go over the Humber Bridge.
They're in the M63.
Sorry?
Doesn't exist. It's M62.
The M62, that's right, of course it is. The M62, yeah. The M63, in fact, is...
Doesn't
where's that go?
exist.
Yes, it does, of course it does.
Well,
yeah.
he's just telling you there isn't an M63.
Of course there's an M63. It's M63's in the northwest of England.
Is it?
Yeah, it's around Manchester. The M62 goes across the Pennines, the spine
I
of
think you'll
England.
find that's the M61, Mike.
No, there is an M63. Honest to God, I use it all the time.
We'll check it out.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure
I've never heard of
there
it.
will almost certainly not be one.
Yeah.
Now, Richard, let me get a word in edgewise, Mr. Parry, if you don't mind. Richard, I'm told that a woman climbed the Humber Bridge not that long ago, back in the last sort of 6 months or so.
Yeah, she's probably a climber, but I'm not a climber.
right.
Yeah, you just bottled it, yeah?
So, I mean, is there anything that you can do by way of a forfeit? I mean, I think by proving Mr. Parry wrong, I think that's a good enough...
I can teach Mark some geography if he wants to.
That would be good.
What do you carry on your lorry, Rich?
Anything and everything. At the moment, I'm carrying bread.
Bread?
Bread.
Well, you could bring some down to Porky and feed the ducks with it.
Yeah,
I've just been to London.
yeah, that's a good idea. But, I mean, how long does bread last on a lorry? Is it a refrigerated lorry?
Well, no, it's fresh bread baked every day.
Oh, where's the bakery?
Hull.
And where'd you take it to?
Grimsby.
Milton Keynes and Southall tonight.
Well, why can't they bake their own bread in Southall? I've got to,
No idea.
Why you got to
It's
go
a
round?
job, isn't it?
Why are you baking all England's bread in Hull?
Does M63 not go to Southall? Richard,
No, it doesn't.
Richard, we've got to, I can't stop laughing. We're going to have to get you go. Thank you very much.
Why do you cart bread 150 miles away from the bakery?
Well,
Ridiculous.
why do you cart bananas all the way from Portsmouth up to Grimsby?
Because you can't manufacture bananas in England, you fool. You have to manufacture them in the Caribbean. You
Listen to
manufacture
this.
bread locally.
Here's a note from our producer. The M63 became the M60 in 1999. Although there are still a few M63 signs.
Thank you.
Here's the main bit. It doesn't exist.
Rubbish. Of course it does.
Mike Porky Parry, who even when he's wrong, thinks he's right. We'll be back next. We're going to talk football right here on TalkSport.
But we don't know where we've been, and we know what we're knowing, but we can't say what we've seen, and we're not little children, and we know what we want, and the future is certain. Give us time to work it out.
You know what this is?
Something on the road to nowhere.
It is the road to nowhere.
and it's Talking Heads.
It is Talking Heads.
And what was the name of the guy who did it?
David Byrne.
David Byrne. And the video, Mike, was one of the first I ever saw on MTV when I was in America in the 80s.
Uh-huh.
And he gets in and out of a box, doesn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Like a cardboard
it's not
box.
the one
that
where he's wearing a
folds-
big white suit, is it?
Yeah, he's wearing a big white suit and he gets in and out of a cardboard box which folds up on top. Then
He's
he
not
gets
on
out
his way
again.
to Grimsby, is he?
Not on his way to Grimsby. And he's not driving a lorry full of bread
I have to say,
120 miles.
Richard has to get a gold star for putting you through the ringer there.
Well, he
Absolutely
didn't put
put
me
you
through the ringer.
You
If you
didn't
dr-
get one thing right in an entire 10-minute
If you
conversation.
drive bread 120 miles in the back of a lorry, it'd be stale by the time it gets to where it's going. I can't stand stale bread. I've got to have fresh bread. I only use a loaf of bread once a day, and then I throw it out and get another loaf tomorrow. Because I get... No, I mean...
How many pieces of bread can you eat in one day?
About 3 or 4, but I throw the rest away because I've got to have a
Well,
fresh
it's a
loaf
terrible
every...
waste. Well, no
It's
wonder
not-
people are starving.
Well, why do you think I go and feed ducks? Because I take the ducks. It's not stale bread. It's
The
just...
ducks you should give stale
It's-
bread to. You
No,
shouldn't
no,
give them
you
fresh
shouldn't.
bread.
No, you shouldn't. You give ducks stale bread, you could kill them because once bread's got mould on it, it becomes an
Stale is not
infectious
stale
poison.
bread is not the same as mouldy bread.
My bread's not even stale. It's just more than 1 day old. I will not eat bread that's more than 1 day
Well,
old.
You're a disgrace if you.
No.
Well, then you should buy half a loaf.
You
And
can't
that
buy
way-
half a loaf.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
You can buy half a loaf.
No, you can't buy half a loaf in the bread shops I go into. I'm
No,
sorry.
What's the bread shop you go into then?
Well, I go to a local bread shop that sells like...
Is it called a bakery by any chance?
Well, there is a bakery behind it, but it's
Well,
called...
you can ask them to give you half a loaf.
No, this thing's called a bloomer, is it? Yeah, a big bloomer, that's
Bloomer,
right.
you get a
Yeah.
small bloomer then.
Well, I like a big bloomer because I like cutting it
I've
in the
heard
middle.
that about you.
Oh, really?
There's
Yeah.
obviously a joke there somewhere, but I'm not going to make it. Anyway, if anybody's ever been on the M63, which doesn't exist, we'd love to hear
It
from
does
you.
exist.
08717 223344, or indeed the road to nowhere. If you've been to Grimsby on that road to nowhere, I think it would be an ideal time to let the Porkmeister know about it. Let's talk about some football, though, because
do
you've
that.
spotted a couple of stories that are worthy of mention.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Mike, look, we're going to get into the whole Manchester United situation in a minute. I heard you when I was driving in berating Van Gaal's record.
Yeah.
Louis Van Gaal.
Well, I'm not really. I'm just. You know what's really
Van
weird?
Gaal.
You know what's really weird
What?
now is that we all started calling him Van Gaal. You kind of overemphasised it slightly with Van Gaal.
Yeah.
Everybody now seems to call him Van Gaal.
Yeah, I
and
know.
including all the Dutch players that we've been talking to on TalkSport over the last 24 hours.
Van Gaal, believe me.
It seems to be Van Gaal. I think we're going to adopt that as the official phrase.
Anyway, the point is, I accept what you were saying. He hasn't got a 100% record of success, but then so is nobody in comparison
all I'm
to
saying,
Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that he's not this guy who's won everything, done everything.
Yeah.
I mean, he got fired from Bayern Munich, and he almost took Barcelona into
But
relegation.
Ancelotti got fired from Chelsea after winning the double.
But not in the
these
middle of the
things happen.
season. No, this was in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
in April.
all right. Anyway, listen, what's going to hit us in headlines tomorrow is so interesting. Cold City didn't even remember it's his birthday. Yaya Toure leaving. I heard you talking about that at the previous show, talking about it.
Yeah.
It says here he's going because nobody wished him happy birthday on his birthday.
Could be the biggest sulk of all time. This, couldn't it?
It's incredible. Yaya Toure is so disillusioned at Manchester City, he's ready to take a pay cut to get out. Goes on to say that, his relationship with the club had sort of faltered a bit. But it says Toure felt unwanted at City last year as the club dragged their feet for 7 months over contract. But then it says, last Tuesday, Sheikh Mansour, he's the bloke who basically finances Manchester City, right?
Well, he's the owner, isn't he?
He is,
Otherwise known as.
Yes, held a big party in Abu Dhabi to celebrate the Etihad's outfit's title triumph. City's bash at the St Regis Hotel on Saadiyat Island, I think I've been there, coincided with Touré's 31st birthday, but nobody from the club wished the Ivorian superstar any happy returns.
So what?
So Luke said Yaya gives everything to his club and is probably the best player in the team, and the club do not protect him anyway. Who's this guy, Salus? Who's he?
No idea.
Salus. It must have been mentioned somewhere else in the song. Must be his agent. Touré's agent, Dimitri Saluk, okay? Yeah. He fumed. There's a big possibility
Yeah,
Yaya
he's mentioned
will
on
leave.
the back page, yeah.
Yeah, this summer, Yaya's very upset. It says because nobody wished him happy birthday. And the club
What is
did
he,
not
5?
What happened at his birthday meant the club don't care about him. It was proof. They can say whatever they want. Oh, we like him, but we forgot. How can you forget about Yaya's birthday, the player who helped you to be 2 times Premier League champions?
This sounds like somebody trying to stir up some trouble to get more
a
money
joke,
for a
isn't
new
it?
contract, isn't it? I mean, if you're 10 years old, you get upset if somebody doesn't mention your birthday. If you're 31, who cares?
How do you celebrate your birthday?
How?
Yeah.
Well, usually with the kids,
And when is it?
It's in August.
In August, and what would you be
Quite
upset?
often, I'm away usually, on holiday. To me, a birthday now doesn't really mean much.
Would you be upset if you're like your mum forgot to ring you up on your birthday?
Not particularly.
Does she ring you up on your birthday?
She always does.
Yeah, well, exactly. Mothers don't usually forget, do they? Because they gave birth to you and they can usually remember
Yeah.
the date of it. Although fathers aren't always like that, are they? My birthday is always blanked by the whole of my family, my friends,
Do
everybody.
you think that's telling you something?
No, it's on the 29th of December, so they all try to pretend that what they gave me at Christmas also applies to my birthday. And so in order...
See, that's a nightmare, isn't it? If you're born in December,
Absolutely.
you don't get really a
No.
proper birthday.
And then, of course...
You must have suffered as a child,
Everybody's
horribly.
keeping their money in their pocket for New Year's Eve celebrations
Yeah.
2 days later. Oh, I was abused mentally as a child.
Well,
with
that
the
explains
birthday
an
date.
awful lot of what goes on now in your life.
And in fact, I mean...
That's why you've never been able to settle down.
I have to admit that I'm, I feel
been
so...
scarred.
Scarred and mentally tortured by it. I've actually tried to buy myself friends on my birthday. So every December
You send
20th
yourself a card.
No, every December 29th now I hire a table in a restaurant and invite anybody who wants to come and join me.
Yeah.
Nobody ever turns up. I mean, it's,
Well, you've never invited me
it's a
to
night-
one of these
it's a night-
bashes.
Well, I don't bother
Well,
inviting you because
not?
well, you have to bring your
I'd come.
your dear partner in life and your 2
No,
children and all that
I
kind
would
of stuff.
come if you want me to.
Yeah, well, the problem is I always have it down on the coast, and it's all right getting people there, but then I
Well,
have to
I
get
know
them
where
home.
that is.
I have to get people home then.
I
have
could
to
come
hire-
and stay at your place.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, sure, yeah, with you and your family of 4.
No,
and,
I'll just come on my own. I've told you.
And I then have to get limos to get them all home because I don't want them risking themselves in cars after drink and all that kind of stuff. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare of logistics, and I've had it all my life, and I'm getting really fed up with it. Nobody's made an effort for me on my birthday all my life. All my
poor old
life I've
Porky.
been neglected.
You know what we should do for your next birthday? Here's an idea for you.
Go on.
We should organise a big party for you, right?
Yeah.
You and I will be on a stage somewhere. We'll invite a couple of thousand people.
Yeah.
They'll all bring you a present, even if it's a small one. What do you think?
The Porky birthday celebration.
Yeah.
We might do that. We are thinking of going on the stage, aren't we?
are.
And taking our double act to a wider audience. We might well get into that.
I think that would be a perfect opportunity
Not a
because
bad
you would
idea.
have you'd feel good about it. You wouldn't feel responsible
Yeah.
for the people that came,
Yeah.
and it might all go down very
I
well.
feel like, did you ever see Mrs. Merton when she did the sketch about her and her boy celebrating their birthday at home and nobody turned up? It was just the two of them. It was so sad and lonely. I felt like that every birthday of mine. How about that?
Yeah, and that's awful.
It is. It's
I've
shocking.
actually never felt sorry for you in my life, and I now
Really?
do.
You do?
I actually now feel sad.
So you know the mental scarring that's taken place during my lifetime, eh? Anyway, let's get back to football. What about Ryan Giggs in this deputy role?
So, I mean, do you really think that Yaya Toure is going to walk out on Manchester City because of this? No.
Because they forgot to wish him happy birthday.
Surely not.
Well, it's
I
absolutely
mean,
bizarre.
it's got to be his agent just trying to angle for some kind of new deal.
Why would you want to leave Manchester City when they're champions and they've got more money than any other club in the world? Why would you want to leave them?
I know, staggering. Let's talk about United on the other side of town.
Yes.
Van Gaal has appointed Ryan Giggs. Now, this is something that we thought, did we not, some weeks ago, that the big furore was about, that Van Gaal wanted to bring Kluivert in with him as his number 2. Giggs didn't want to be anything less than number 2. Now it appears Kluivert didn't want to be anything less than number 2, so he's not coming.
Yeah. Look, I'm reading between the lines here. Why was there a week's delay in announcing Van Gaal as the new manager when, for instance, you know, Sky TV put a report on it permanently over in Holland when, you know, prior to them leaving for their training camp in Portugal, I think.
That's right.
And Van Gaal was very good-natured and every day said, look, you'll have to ask Manchester United or, look, you know, there are negotiations going on. So he wasn't trying to say, I know nothing. He was saying there are negotiations going on. Now then, of course, Ryan Giggs came out of a hotel in Holland looking very concerned, miserable, concerned, deep in thought and that kind of stuff. And, of course, what's happened is now they've come to a compromise, haven't they, by the look of it? So it won't be Kluivert as his deputy, but there's at least 2 other Dutchmen going to be in the coaching squad. One of them is the goalkeeping coach.
And that's surprising because supposedly the goalkeeping coach that David Moyes brought in did a great job with De Gea.
Chris...
Can't remember.
Sorry, he came from Everton.
Was it Chris Wood?
Yes, Chris Wood. He came from Everton. Doesn't look like Steve Round's going to be around. We all know that already. Doesn't look like too many members of the Class of 92. So what I'm saying is this. I think this compromise has been forced to make the situation work, but I see Ryan Giggs now as a Welshman in the middle of a Dutch sandwich.
Yes.
Because he's got Van Gaal, his immediate boss, ahead of him, and he's got people who are very close to Van Gaal,
the Dutch national side.
3rd and 4th coaches from the Dutch national side below him. Can you imagine them sitting around in the boot room when they're all going to be discussing in Dutch, their colloquial language, the merits of the squad and the team and all that?
People say that despite the fact that most Dutch players and ex-players speak very good English, apparently Van Gaal's English is not as brilliant, perhaps, as some other people.
You could tell that when he was talking to this reporter who followed him around for a week. He'd say, speak Manchester United, you know, rather than talk to Manchester United. So I think you're right.
That didn't sound like a Dutch accent to me that you were doing there.
Speak Manchester United.
That's much more like it. Here's one from Rob, a Man City fan in Southport. The M63 motorway is now known as the M60. And Gary from Essex says, brilliant show, the 2 mics. He says, keep up the good work. I'm just off to drive on the M63 if I can find it.
It's there, believe me. It's in the northwest.
Michael is a Man City fan in Bury. Michael, good morning to you.
Morning.
Yeah, what would you like to say?
Morning, Michael.
Great show, guys.
Thank you.
Just listening to obviously this about Yaya, and I've been trying to read up on it a bit as well.
Yeah.
And I have actual proof that it's his agent trying to basically wrangle for a new deal.
Well, we'll make that an allegation, Michael, considering as we're very fair-minded to everybody.
Well, tell us why you think that.
I go on the City website on a regular basis, and they had a review of Abu Dhabi day one when they were in there from the first day.
Yeah.
And they give Yaya a birthday cake on the plane, and all the players sang happy birthday to him.
Is that right?
Video evidence on there.
Well, that's very interesting and very, very useful
Well, why
to
would
us.
his agent be so stupid as to say they didn't do anything? Is he claiming that the club didn't do anything officially, even though the players did? Is that the point?
I think that's from what he's saying. If you listen to what he's saying they didn't at the actual bash, but surely it would have been the club who put that together on the airways. And it's a cake of the City crest.
I think, Michael. By the way, thank you very much for getting in touch with us. That's invaluable information. But I think you'll find here what his agent seems to be saying is the people who are most in control of City, i.e. the owners, didn't themselves show some sort of appreciation for his birthday.
Saying, you know, if it was your birthday, for example, today, and some of us would band together and bring you a cake, but it wouldn't actually be officially a TalkSport cake.
No, that's
and
right.
You could then get your nose out of joint because the TalkSport, management hadn't actually come and given you, a proper birthday celebration officially. That's what he's saying. By the sound.
I walked out down the stairs. I passed the boss downstairs. He didn't even say happy birthday, Mike.
So now you're going to have your noses out of joint.
Right. Well, that's it. Okay.
As I said, I think the agent is at it, by the way. Now, listen to this from Wayne, who's a Pompey fan. He's got some advice for you about bread. Because once again, you've spent almost an hour here getting absolutely nothing right, which I think is fantastic. Only you could do that. It says this,
I'll ignore that.
Can you let Mr. Parry know that bread is baked and blast frozen till it is ready to go to the shops? I work for Warburton's Bread, and Hobos and King's Mill do the same. And it isn't sent in a chiller, it's sent in heated lorries to keep it fresh. But it is a hilarious show with you two, nonetheless.
What's
So-
hilarious about getting the facts right, which is
Well,
exactly what I
no,
told you.
What he's saying
Stale
is that
bread.
it doesn't go stale in the hot lorry.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't go stale in the hot lorry.
So
but
the fact that they're driving it around for hours makes no difference.
why don't you just build a bakery 120 miles nearer to the shop that you're going to put the bread in? That's what I'd understand.
Well, every bakery doesn't actually bake bread, does it?
I get a lot of my fresh baguettes from the Co-op chain. Okay,
Really?
Yeah, I love baguettes. Yeah,
Do you?
and they cook them.
What do you
on,
put in them?
Why
are you looking-
bacon?
Bacon.
Yeah, or sausage, or sometimes corned beef, or tuna.
They don't
Okay.
make them there, though, do they?
Yes, they do. They
No,
make
they
them on
don't.
site.
No, they get
do.
them frozen and they just bake them.
No, they make them on site.
They do
and,
not.
and the point I'm making is this: that I read somewhere that they've decided that's quite a costly exercise, and they're going to shut a load of them down. Well, if the co-op
Maybe
starts
it's one of these people at the top of the food chain you're talking to.
yeah, that's right. If the co-op starts shutting down their bakeries, I'm not going to buy my baguettes from the co-op anymore. So that's warning to the co-op.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, that'll put them out of business.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Well,
your favourite.
I'll tell you what, it'd put out of business if you were buying there.
Let's talk about your
amount
favourite
of stuff that you eat.
Never mind trying to insult me. There's only a minute left. Your
yeah.
favourite player, Gerard Deulofeu.
Deulofeu?
Do not Deulofeu. He's going to be no longer on these shores. Everton are going to have to send him back to Barcelona.
Not so.
That's
you
what
see.
I read last week.
No, you might have read it, mate, but you don't know what you're talking about as usual. What's happening is he's going back for an assessment to Barcelona.
Well, they need him at
Deulofeu.
Barcelona. I think they're going to keep him.
And they're going to see what the lie of the land is. They're going to talk to Roberto Martinez, the Everton manager, to see what opportunities he'd have to play first team football on a regular basis. A lot of this rests on whether Lukaku is going to stay at Everton or go back to Chelsea and go out on loan somewhere else, or stay at Chelsea. So it's all a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, and you've got to have a very active mind, Mike, to be able to put the pieces of the jigsaw into the right places in football's jigsaw puzzle in the closed season.
Just tell us how to say his name again.
Deulofeu.
You're struggling with that surname, have you?
Yeah, go on.
Deulofeu.
Deulofeu.
Cool. Close.
Deulofeu.
That's exactly what I said. Deulofeu.
Deulofeu.
Yes, but
Try
that came
and
from
say it
Roberto
properly.
Martinez's mouth. and
Deulofeu.
Mr. Martinez is a natural Spaniard, so he's got
A
an
natural
accent.
Spaniard?
He's got an
As
accent.
opposed to what? An unnatural Spaniard.
yeah.
What is that unnatural Spaniard doing outside?
Yeah, you know that.
I've seen a
You
couple
know-
of them hanging around.
You know what I mean? A naturalised Spaniard. No, he's not even that, is he? He's a native Spaniard. Native
Well, I
Spaniard.
thought you might be one of those English managers that you said had become English, like Martin Yole. You made clips of the week with that, by the way.
Yeah, and it also appeared in the Daily Mirror this morning, taking the mickey out of me. It's a bit harsh.
Well, all they do is listen to clips of the week and then
Yeah,
stick
is
it in
that
their
right?
column. They're
Is that
getting
right?
lazier and lazier over the
Oh,
mirror,
okay.
I have to say.
Okay.
08717 223344. If anyone's found the M63, please call and tell us. Mike Porky Parry will be back, of course, on Breakfast with the paper review and Mr. I'm not sure if it's David Gillow, it might be Ray Parler. We'll know soon enough.
It's Raymondo.
You will be back also with me on a 3-hour special Thursday night. Don't miss it. We're going to talk shepherds. We're going to talk a lot of stuff, phobias, which we didn't get to. And, of course, we'll be looking ahead to the World Cup, which I think I'm right in saying is now, 23 days from now? Something like that. Mike Porky Parry, thank you very much indeed. Safe home with your shorts and, look out for the ducks on the way home.
Great
and the
to
bread
be with
lorries.
you, pal.
See you soon.